The Crescent Ring space station was one of the busiest places in this part of the galaxy. Every day, thousands of people walked through its long halls, carrying tools, boxes, food, or information. Ships from many planets came and left. The place was always full of noise machines, humming, doors sliding, and voices rising and falling like waves. In this large world, a small feline girl named Lyra tried to move without being noticed. She was a Feline, one of the cat-like people known for their fast speed, strong reflexes, sharp eyes, and confident behavior. But Lyra was different. She was smaller than most Feline girls. Her fur was softer, her steps were quieter, and her confidence had been broken long ago. Her ears usually stayed lowered, and her tail often hung close to the floor. She was gentle when others expected boldness, calm when others expected strength. For these reasons, many of her own people called her Unfit. The word followed her everywhere. When she went to ask for work, someone always said it. When she tried to join a training group, she heard it again. When she tried to help with small tasks, she was pushed aside. She wasn't fast enough. She wasn't strong enough. She didn't climb as high or run as far. Lyra had learned to accept the harsh judgment quietly, even though it hurt her heart each time. That morning, the Feline skills evaluation was taking place. It happened once every cycle, and it decided who could join the guild, the group that protected Feline rights on the station and offered good jobs. Many young Feline stood proudly in line, showing off their abilities. Some jumped onto high ledges. Some balanced on beams. Some carried heavy crates with strong arms. They all looked confident. Lyra stood at the end of the line. She didn't expect them to accept her, but she still hoped maybe they would at least give her one chance. When her turn came, the guild leader, an older, strict Feline with bright golden eyes, looked at her and sighed loudly. "Lyra," he said, "we have already tested you many times." "I know," she replied softly. "You do not meet the standards. You should step aside and stop trying to enter the guild." Her heart sank. "But I want to help. I can see small things others miss." "That is not enough," the leader said. "A Feline must be strong, fast, and bold." Lyra lowered her eyes. "Yes, I understand." She stepped away as the other Feline continued their tests. Some laughed at her as she walked past. Some whispered behind her back. Some didn't even bother to look at her. She hugged her small bag tightly and walked toward the quieter part of the station to calm her mind. She reached the outer docking bay, a place where ships parked for repairs or refueling. The area was much calmer than the crowded hallways. Metal doors opened and closed, and the air smelled like oil and warm machinery. Lyra liked this area. It was peaceful and less judgmental. She sat behind a stack of crates and watched the workers move around. A loud clank drew her attention. One of the ships near her, a small human vessel, was damaged. Sparks jumped from a broken repair drone under the wing. A human man was kneeling there, studying the damage with frustration on his face. He wore a simple shirt and pants stained with grease. His hair was messy like he had been working for hours. His name was Daniel. He tried to reach a bolt deep inside the wing. He stretched his arm, but could not reach far enough. "Come on, just turn, please," he muttered to himself, trying again. Lyra watched him quietly. She noticed something he didn't. The tool he was using was angled wrong. The bolt would never turn from that angle. She hesitated. She wasn't supposed to talk to workers unless they asked, and many Feline disliked seeing her speak to humans. But Daniel looked so frustrated that she gathered a small amount of courage. She walked closer and said in a soft voice, "You should angle the tool down a little. The bolt turns from the underside." Daniel jumped in surprise. "Whoa! Didn't see you there. Whoa! Whoa!" He looked at her carefully. Lyra expected him to frown or tell her to leave. Instead, he blinked in confusion. "You're saying the bolt is reversed?" he asked. Yes, she said quietly. If you push the tool down, it will loosen. Daniel tried it. The bolt turned instantly. He stared at it, and then laughed. You're right. I've been fighting with it for 15 minutes. Lyra stepped back, shy. I only noticed the shape of the connector. It's different. No, no. This is great, he said. Thank you. Lyra froze. It felt unreal hearing a warm voice say that to her. She lowered her ears and whispered, You're welcome. Daniel stared at her for a moment. He saw her body language, her shoulders slightly hunched, her eyes avoiding his gaze, her tail close to the floor. She looked like someone who had spent a long time trying not to take up space. Are you a technician? He asked. Lyra shook her head. No. I am not accepted anywhere. They say I am unfit. Daniel frowned. That doesn't make sense. You have good eyes. You caught something I missed. She looked confused. My eyes are my only useful thing. That's already something special, Daniel replied with a friendly smile. Most people don't notice details. Before she could answer, an alarm rang across the docking bay. Workers shouted. A large cargo crate hanging from a damaged lift suddenly swung sideways. The cable holding it made a snapping sound, ready to break. Under the crate, several engineers were walking without noticing. Lyra's eyes widened. Her heart raced. Without thinking, she sprang into action. She slipped through a narrow gap that others couldn't fit through. Her light feet made almost no sound as she rushed to the emergency panel. She saw exactly which lever would stop the lift from dropping. She pulled it with all her strength. The crate stopped just in time. Only a few inches separated it from the heads of the engineers. Everyone froze. The engineers turned around in shock. One of the supervisors shouted, Who pulled the lever? Daniel pointed at Lyra. But the supervisor only shook his head. Lyra again? Probably just luck. She shouldn't be touching controls. Luck. Daniel's jaw tightened. Luck. Are you serious? She just saved your team. The supervisor shrugged. She doesn't meet our standards. He walked away without even thanking her. Lyra lowered her ears again. It's okay. I am used to this. Daniel turned to her with disbelief. No one should be used to that. She gave a tiny, sad smile. They don't believe in me. Daniel looked at her closely. Her eyes were tired, but sharp. She clearly cared, worked hard, and tried her best, yet nobody saw her effort. He felt something inside him tighten a quiet anger at how unfair her world was. Hey, he said softly. Would you like to help me with my ship for a bit? I could really use your eyes. And I'll pay you properly. Lyra blinked fast. You want me to work with you? Yes, he said with a warm smile. You already helped. I'd be glad to have you. Her chest felt warm. No one had said something like that to her in years. She nodded quickly. I would like that, she said. They walked back to his ship. Daniel handed her tools and explained small tasks. Lyra worked with careful precision. She pointed out burnt wiring he had missed. She noticed a pressure leak by the fuel line. She even found a loose panel screw that could have caused a dangerous rattle. Daniel was amazed. You're incredible at this. Lyra looked down shyly. I only notice small things. That's exactly what good technicians do, he said. She felt her tail lift slightly, not high, but higher than usual. She was happy. She didn't remember the last time she had felt that way. After a few hours, they sat down to rest. Daniel handed her a meal. Lyra ate slowly, as if she wasn't used to someone sharing food with her. You shouldn't let others decide your worth, Daniel said gently. But they are my own people, she whispered. Even then, he replied, they don't get to say who you are. Before she could respond, a group of young Feline walked up. There you are, one of them said to Lyra with irritation. The guild wants to know why you touched equipment again. They think you caused trouble. Lyra lowered her head. I was only trying to help. Daniel stood up quickly. She saved people. She didn't cause trouble. The youths ignored him. She shouldn't be around tools. She is unfit. Daniel stepped closer, his voice steady. The Feline youths were shocked that a human defended her. They muttered angrily and walked away. Lyra stared at Daniel, her eyes wide. You defended me. Why? Because you deserved it, he said simply. You deserve respect. Lyra felt her heart fill with a new feeling, something gentle, warm, and strong. Daniel had seen her worth. Daniel had spoken for her. Daniel had treated her like she mattered. For the first time in her life, she wondered if maybe she wasn't unfit, after all. Lyra woke the next morning with a strange new feeling inside her chest. It was not fear, not sadness, and not the heavy loneliness she usually carried. It was something small and warm, like a tiny spark. She had barely slept because she kept replaying Daniel's words in her mind. Words that felt gentle and honest. Words that no one in her own guild had ever said to her. Someone had seen her worth. Someone had believed in her. Someone had defended her. She walked toward the docking bay early, hoping Daniel might still be there. Her steps were small, and her tail moved softly behind her. Even though she told herself not to expect anything, she couldn't stop her heart from hoping. When she arrived, Daniel's ship was still in the same place. The ramp was open, and he was sitting on a metal crate, eating breakfast. The moment he saw her, he smiled. Morning, Lyra. You're early. Lyra lowered her ears shyly. I wanted to help with the repairs, if you still need help. Daniel laughed. If I still need help? Lyra, after yesterday, I'm not letting you escape so easily. Come sit. She hesitated, then sat on a crate next to him. Daniel handed her a small food pack like before. She held it carefully, still not used to being offered things without judgment. She ate slowly, and Daniel noticed how gently she handled everything, like she didn't want to disturb the world around her. So, he said after a moment, I was thinking about something. Lyra blinked. You're good at repairing things, he said. Really good. You see tiny cracks and details I miss. What if you work with me not just for a day, but for longer? Lyra froze. For longer? She whispered. Yes. I don't stay in one place for long. I travel to different stations doing repair work. I could use someone with your eyes. Her heart beat faster. You mean, leave the station? If you want, he said gently. Only if you want. I'm not forcing you. Lyra looked down at her hands. Her people had rejected her. Her guild had ignored her. But this station was still the only home she knew. Leaving it felt big, scary, and yet somehow exciting. She didn't answer right away because she didn't trust her own voice. Before she could think further, a loud noise echoed through the bay. An angry group of Feline workers marched in. They looked serious, their faces tense, and their tails puffed. Daniel frowned. The leader of the group pointed at Lyra. You, come with us. The guild has questions. Lyra's ears lowered in fear. Daniel stood up quickly, stepping between her and the group. What questions? He asked. She interfered with equipment yesterday, the Feline leader said. We need to review her actions. She saved people, Daniel said firmly. That is your view, the Feline replied. Lyra whispered. I should go. Daniel shook his head. Lyra, you did nothing wrong. But Lyra gently walked forward. She didn't want trouble for Daniel. The group surrounded her and led her out of the bay. Daniel's jaw clenched as he watched her leave. He had seen her fear. He had seen her sadness. And he knew this wasn't going to end well. The Feline guild chamber was cold and quiet when Lyra entered. Several elders sat behind a long metal table. They didn't smile. They rarely smiled at her. One elder spoke. Lyra, you touched emergency equipment without permission. I saw danger, she said softly. The crate was falling. Asked. You endangered the system by pulling the lever. It was the correct lever, Lyra whispered. Another elder sighed. You have always been different, Lyra. You never fit our standards. Those words again. Unfit. 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 Every time someone said it, she felt like a candle losing its flame. We cannot allow you to behave unpredictably. The elder continued. We have decided you will not be allowed near any technical area. You are restricted from repair zones. Lyra's breath stopped. Restricted from the one place she felt useful. I only wanted to help, she said, her voice shaking. You do not understand your limits, the elder replied. Return to your quarters and stay out of work zones until further notice. Lyra slowly lowered her head. She didn't argue. She didn't fight. She just turned and walked out of the room quietly. But out of sight, Daniel had been watching from a distance. He wasn't allowed inside the guild chamber, but he saw Lyra leave with her ears lowered and her steps heavy. He ran toward her. What happened? He asked. They restricted me, she whispered. I cannot enter repair areas anymore. I cannot help anyone. Daniel felt anger rising inside him. That's unfair. They're punishing you for saving people. It doesn't matter, Lyra said softly. They don't want me. Daniel breathed deeply to calm himself. He didn't want to upset her more. Lyra, he said gently, listen to me. You did the right thing. You have a good heart, and you have real skill. I don't care what they say, you're not unfit. Her eyes softened. But if they don't want me, what should I do? Daniel took a slow breath before speaking. The offer I made earlier, it still stands. You can work with me, travel with me, learn more, help more, and be somewhere you're valued. She stared at him with wide eyes. Leave the station. With you? Yes, only if you want. You deserve a place where people see your worth. Jun. Lyra didn't speak for a long moment. Her tail wrapped around her legs. Her heart felt torn between fear and hope. She had never left Crescent Ring. She had never even stepped foot on another planet. The world outside felt huge and unknown. But staying here meant more pain, more rejection, more limits. She looked at Daniel. He was watching her with kind eyes, not rushing her, not forcing her, just giving her a choice she had never been given. I want to help you, she whispered, but I am afraid. That's okay, Daniel said softly. We'll go slowly. You don't have to be brave all at once. Lyra felt her throat tighten, but not from sadness this time, from overwhelming emotion. She nodded slowly. I will try, she said. Daniel smiled warmly. Good. Then, let's get your things. But before they could leave, something unexpected happened. The station's alarm blared loudly. Red lights flashed through the halls. A robotic voice spoke through the speakers. Warning. Gas leak detected in Sector 12. All workers evacuate immediately. Lyra's ears shot up. Sector 12? That is near the ventilation chambers. Daniel grabbed her hand. We need to move. Workers scrambled in every direction. The air grew thick with smoke and the sound of machinery shutting down. A strong smell filled the halls. Lyra's sharp eyes saw a damaged pipe ahead, broken and leaking dangerous gas. Daniel, she warned. Stop. She pointed at a wall panel. The pressure inside is rising fast. If the pipe bursts, it will damage half the level. Daniel looked around. Where's the control panel? Lyra ran toward a small maintenance door. Even though she was restricted, she couldn't ignore danger. She opened the panel and saw a series of complex switches. Her hands trembled, but she remembered things from watching workers over the years. Daniel stayed behind her. Do you know how to fix it? I think, yes, she whispered. She took a deep breath and focused. Her fingers flew across the switches. She rerouted the pressure, closed broken valves, and shut off a faulty pump. Her eyes moved quickly, noticing every small change in the gauges. Suddenly, the lights stopped flashing. The alarm quieted. The gas leak slowed. Daniel stared at her in awe. Lyra, you just saved the whole sector. She stepped back, breathing fast. I only did what was needed. Daniel shook his head. You did what no one else could. You're amazing. Before Lyra could answer, a group of engineers arrived. They inspected the panel and checked their equipment. When they realized what had happened, one engineer looked at Lyra with shock. You fixed this? He asked. Alone? Lyra lowered her eyes nervously. Do you know how long it would have taken us to figure out this problem? The engineer said. You prevented a huge disaster. Another engineer nodded. If this had blown, we'd have lost half the bay. Lyra blinked slowly. People were looking at her, not with anger, not with judgment, but with respect. Daniel placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. See? This is what I mean. You have worth. Real worth. For the first time in her life, Lyra's ears lifted fully. Her tail curled slightly upward. Her eyes shimmered, with a quiet strength she never knew she had. She looked at Daniel and spoke with a little more confidence than before. I am ready to go with you. Daniel smiled. Then, let's go. And together, they walked back toward his ship, unaware that their journey was only beginning. One that would change Lyra's future, and maybe even her entire people's future, forever. Lyra stood at the bottom of Daniel's ship ramp, staring inside the vessel she was about to enter for the first time. Her heart beat fast, and her fur stood a little straighter. She wasn't scared the way she used to be, not the old fear that made her freeze and shrink. This was a new fear mixed with excitement, like standing at the edge of a new world. Daniel watched her with a gentle smile. Take your time. There's no rush. Lyra slowly placed one foot on the ramp. She expected to feel guilt for leaving the station she had known all her life. But instead, she felt something lighter. Daniel believed in her, and she was learning to believe in herself. That made her steps steadier. Inside the ship, everything smelled like metal, warm wires, and old tools, a smell she knew and liked. She looked around with wide eyes. The ship wasn't big, but it felt strangely safe, like a small home that welcomed her without judgment. Daniel guided her. This is the main room. Work table is over there. That door leads to the engine room. And that corner well, that can be yours if you want it. Lyra blinked. Mine? Yeah. You'll need a place to sleep, if you're working with me. Her heart warmed. No one had ever offered her a space before. She touched the small corner with her hand. It wasn't fancy, just a soft mat, a light, and a small storage box. But to her, it felt like something priceless. Daniel walked to the control chair and checked a screen. We'll leave in a few minutes. Once we get clearance. We. Lyra stood beside him, trying not to get in the way. Where will we go first? A small repair job on Vega Station, he said. Nothing too big, but a good place to start. Lyra nodded slowly. I will try my best. Daniel looked at her with a gentle seriousness. Lyra, I don't want you to just try. I want you to know you're already good enough. Her ears twitched. She still wasn't used to hearing words like that, but she liked them. Just then, a loud knock came from outside the ship. Daniel frowned and opened the ramp door. Standing there were several Feline from the guild elders and youths alike. They looked restless, confused, and even a little ashamed. Lyra froze behind Daniel, her tail lowered. One elder stepped forward. We need to speak with Lyra. Daniel's expression hardened. Why? So you can insult her again? Oh, no. the elder said quietly. We came to say something else. The group stepped inside slowly. Lyra stood with her hands pressed together nervously. Her eyes stayed low. The elder took a deep breath. We reviewed what happened with the gas leak. The engineers showed us the data. You prevented a large explosion. Lyra didn't answer. The elder continued. You saved many lives, and we ignored your value for too long. A second elder stepped up. We were wrong, Lyra. The words shocked her so deeply that her ears slowly lifted. She had never heard an elder say those words before. Not once in her life. The first elder looked down, ashamed. We judged you only by strength and speed. We forgot that skill, heart, and clarity are also strengths. A younger Felinar from the group swallowed hard. We treated you poorly. All of us. Lyra slowly raised her eyes. They all looked genuinely regretful. But she didn't feel anger. She didn't want revenge. She just felt calm. I only wanted to help, she said quietly. The elder nodded. We know. And we stopped you from doing what you were meant to do. Daniel crossed his arms. She was always capable. You just refused to see it. The elders nodded, accepting his words. Another elder stepped forward with a small metal badge. Lyra, we want to offer you a place in the guild. A real place. We will train you properly. You will be respected. Lyra stared at the badge. Her throat tightened. This was everything she had ever wanted. Once. It was what she had dreamed about for years. Being accepted. Being useful. Being part of her people. But now she also remembered the tears she shed in quiet corners. The harsh words. The cold stares. And she remembered Daniel, the one who saw her value before anyone else did. She looked at Daniel first. He didn't say anything. He didn't tell her what decision to make. He only watched her with steady eyes, letting her choose. Lyra gently shook her head. The elders looked shocked. I want to learn. I want to help. But I cannot return to a place where I was unwanted for so long, she said softly. I want to find a new path. She turned her eyes toward Daniel. I want to travel with him. Daniel felt warmth rise in his chest. He didn't show too much emotion, but he felt proud. Proud of her choice. Proud of her voice. Proud that she was no longer afraid to speak. The elders exchanged a long look. Finally, the oldest one nodded. If this is your decision, we will respect it. And know this, Lyra, you are no longer unfit. Not to us, not anymore. Lyra bowed her head respectfully. Thank you. The group slowly left the ship. Daniel closed the ramp and exhaled. You were brave, he said. Lyra looked at him with gentle eyes. You gave me courage. Daniel chuckled. I think the courage was always there. You just needed someone to notice. The control screen beeped. They had received flight clearance. Daniel sat in the pilot seat, and Lyra sat beside him, still unsure if she was allowed to touch anything. Ready to leave Crescent Ring? Daniel asked. Lyra looked out the window at the wide hall of the docking bay. So much of her life had happened here. Sadness, loneliness, rejection, but also Daniel. Meeting him was the turning point she didn't know she needed. Yes, she whispered. I am ready. Daniel activated the engines. The ship lifted slowly, then moved through the long tunnel to open space. As they flew out of the station, Lyra pressed her face gently against the window, her eyes wide with wonder. The stars stretched infinitely. The darkness wasn't empty, it sparkled with possibilities she had never imagined. Space felt big, mysterious, alive. Daniel glanced at her. First time seeing open space like this? Lyra nodded. It feels peaceful. Gets better the more you travel, Daniel said with a smile. Hours passed with them working together in the engine room. Daniel showed her diagrams. Lyra pointed out details he hadn't noticed. She learned fast, picking up skills like she was born for it. Daniel kept stopping to stare at her as she worked. "You know," he said at one point, "I think you're going to be better than me soon." Lyra paused. "Better? Than you?" "Absolutely." Her tail curled upward in shy happiness. Later, when the ship was quiet and drifting through steady space, Lyra sat on her small mat, thinking. She remembered her childhood, her struggles, and the many times she had tried to prove herself. She remembered all the times she wanted to give up. And now she was here, on a ship with someone who saw value in her before she even saw it herself. She whispered to herself, "I am not unfit." The words surprised her. But once she said them, she felt stronger. She walked to the cockpit where Daniel was checking navigation. "Daniel," she said softly. He looked up. "Yeah?" She stood there nervously, holding something behind her back. "I made something." She revealed a small metal piece with wires, something she had crafted during their break. "A sensor," she explained. "It can read pressure levels before they reach danger." Daniel blinked. "You made that just now?" She nodded. "I wanted to help make the ship safer." Daniel took it gently and examined it. "Lyra, this is genius." Her ears lifted. "You think so?" "I know so," he said warmly. "You're already improving my ship." Lyra felt a warm pride spread through her chest. She didn't feel small anymore. She didn't feel unfit. She felt capable. As hours passed, the ship neared Vega Station. Stars shimmered outside the window. Daniel leaned back in his chair and stretched. "Lyra," he said quietly, "I'm really glad you're here." Lyra looked at him with gentle honesty. "I am glad too." Daniel smiled. "From today on, you're not just a helper. You're my partner." Lyra's heart fluttered. "Partner? Me?" "Yeah," he said. "I trust you." She lowered her head shyly. "Then I will not fail you." "You won't," Daniel said. "Because I've seen your worth since the moment you spoke." Lyra felt her tail curl happily. For the first time in her life, she wasn't just surviving. She was becoming. She was learning. She was valued. And as Daniel's ship glided toward the glowing lights of Vega Station, Lyra felt her future open wide. Wide, like the stars themselves. She wasn't the unfit girl from Crescent Ring anymore. She was a skilled, brave, sharp-eyed engineer who had finally found where she belonged. Her journey was only beginning, and she was ready for everything ahead.